Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine you've just been handed this massive data set. Maybe it's customer logs, climate research, could be anything, election results maybe. How do you even start to untangle it? How do you get past just staring at all those rows and columns to actually, understand what's going on, to find the patterns, the surprises, the really crucial insights? Today, we're diving deep into exploratory data analysis, or A-Day. It's not just a step. It's really the first proper conversation you have with your data.
Exactly. Think of A-Day as the initial detective work in any data journey. Before you go building some complex model or testing a very specific hypothesis, you really need to understand the lay of the land.
Right.
It's about examining and summarizing your data sets just to grasp their main characteristics, spot those hidden patterns, and maybe most importantly, identify any potential issues hiding in there.
Issues like?
Missing values, strange outliers,
Yeah.
things that could completely derail your analysis later on if you don't catch them early.
So it's about making sure you're not building your sort of analytical house on shaky ground, right? It's getting the full story first.
Precisely. The core mission of EDA is to help you understand what your data is really trying to tell you, beyond just the raw numbers. Our goal here is to pull out those key nuggets of knowledge and insight that inform everything else you do.
Okay.
And when we talk about EDA, we're generally looking at two main things. First, data summarization using descriptive statistics for a numerical snapshot. And second, data visualization, using plots to reveal patterns, trends, relationships, stuff the numbers alone just can't show you.
So for you, our listener, the immediate takeaway is this. EDA ensures you know the story behind your data, full stop. It helps you catch quality issues up front, and it confidently guides your next analytical moves. It's kind of your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, not just about the data itself, but about the world it represents. Okay, let's unpack this with a real example. To tell a story, you need to understand your characters, right? And in data, those characters are our variables. For this deep dive, we're going to explore the fascinating Gapminder dataset.
Gapminder. Good choice.
Yeah, it's not just a random bunch of numbers. It tracks countries worldwide, covering things like life expectancy, population, GDP per capita over decades. Just thinking about those variables, you can almost feel the stories they hold.
It's an incredibly rich data set.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Gapminder has variables like country, continent, year, life expectancy at birth, POP for total population, and GDP per cap, which is the inflation-adjusted GDP per capita. Our source material even highlights Afghanistan, showing its life expectancy going from, 28.8 years in 1952 up to nearly 40 by 1982, plus huge population growth.
Wow.
Yeah, these specific decade-spanning details are exactly what EDA helps us quickly grasp and maybe start asking questions about.
And that brings us right to the first pillar of EDA, data summarization, where we use numbers to kind of reveal the numbers.
Indeed. When we talk about descriptive statistics, we're not just, reciting definitions from a textbook. We're using tools to get a quick, digestible overview of our data's distribution and properties. The common ones like mean and median for the center, standard deviation or range for how spread out it is. But in EDA, choosing between, say, mean and median isn't just academic. Take GDP per cap. It's often super skewed, right? A few really wealthy countries.
Yeah, definitely.
So the median gives us a much better sense of the typical country's wealth. It's more robust, less swayed by those outliers.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about choosing the right statistical lens for the specific kind of data you're looking at.
Exactly. These stats offer immediate insights into your data's characteristics. They're foundational everywhere: economics, environmental science, you name it. And a crucial point here is that different data types need different stats. For numeric variables, like we just discussed, measures of center and spread are key. But what about categorical data, like continent in our Gapminder example?
Right, you wouldn't average Asia and Europe.
Precisely. You wouldn't average a continent. For categorical data, the meaningful stats are things like count how many observations in each category and proportion, the percentage of the total.
Got it.
Understanding these distinctions is just critical for accurate summary. Thankfully, modern tools are, incredibly good at this now. You can quickly get summaries of numeric variables, calculate medians for skewed data, get frequency tables for categories.
Makes it much faster.
Oh, absolutely. You can even explore correlations, like between life expectancy and GDP, without having to manually crunch every single number. These tools really transform that mountain of data into a quick, insightful snapshot.
Now, numerical summaries give us a solid foundation, but sometimes our brains just need a picture to really get it. This is where data visualization really shines, and it's why we're going to explore something really powerful, the grammar of graphics. When you hear ggplot, that G actually stands for this concept. It's a whole system, a language for building plots, not just a software package.
That's a key insight. The grammar of graphics gives you this philosophical and practical framework for building pretty much any statistical graphic you can imagine. It breaks down even complex visuals into a consistent set of components, a bit like how grammar breaks sentences into nouns, verbs, adjectives.
Okay, like powerful building blocks for telling visual stories with data. So what are these core components then?
It really is like that. Let's outline them quickly. One, data. That's your foundation, the data set itself, like our Gapminder data. Two, gems, short for geometric objects. These are how you represent the data visually. Points for a scatter plot, lines for trends, bars for comparisons.
The shapes, basically.
Exactly. Three, aesthetics, or AS. This is the crucial mapping part. Linking your data variables to visual properties. So mapping GDP per cap to the x-axis, LifeX to the y-axis, maybe continent to color. It's how your data's characteristics become visible things on the plot.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
Four, stats. These are statistical transformations done before plotting. For example, GeoMBar can automatically count frequencies for you, so you're plotting the counts, not every single row.
Handy.
Very. Five, facets. Incredibly powerful. This lets you divide your data into subplots based on categories. It's like getting multiple mini-views for easy comparison across groups.
Like one plot per continent.
Precisely. Six, coordinates. This just defines the overall coordinate system, usually Cartesian, like your standard XY axis, but could be polar or others. And seven, themes. This is the polish. Controlling the overall look background, grid lines, fonts, titles, makes it look professional.
Wow, that's a really neat way to think about building plots. Let's see this grammar in action with Gapminder. Say we want to understand the link between a country's wealth and its population's health. So GDP per capita against life expectancy. A scatter plot seems obvious.
Right.
But as you said, GDP per cap is often really skewed. Most countries down at one end, a few way out at the other. That can make the plot hard to read.
Good point. So how do we handle that? How do we make that relationship clear when one variable is so spread out?
Well, we can use a specific transformation within the aesthetics, like ScaleX log 10. It squishes the high values closer together, relatively speaking. This makes the differences at the lower end more visible, and crucially, it often reveals something interesting.
Like what?
Like, while higher GDP generally means higher life expectancy, the rate of improvement often slows down a lot at higher GDP levels. The curve flattens out.
So you're not just seeing that there's a relationship, but the nature of the relationship changes. Other factors start to matter more past a certain economic point.
Exactly. And we can layer on more info too, right? If we want to see how this plays out across continents.
You could just map continent to the color aesthetic.
Right. Suddenly, each point isn't just a dot. It's a colored dot telling you its continent. You might instantly see if, say, European countries cluster differently from Asian ones.
Yeah, or if their general trends look different.
And to really dig into those differences, you mentioned faceting. What would that show us here?
Faceting using FaceWrap would be perfect for this. It creates those separate mini plots, one for each continent. And this is often where the real magic happens, revealing nuances totally lost in a single combined plot.
Likes.
Well, you might see that while life expectancy generally goes up with GDP everywhere, the slope of that increase, or maybe the starting point, could be dramatically different for Africa compared to Europe, highlighting really distinct developmental paths.
That's a fantastic way to organize complexity, keep it clear. And to spot the main patterns, we can add a smooth curve too.
Yep, a trend line. It helps the eye see the general pattern without getting bogged down by every single data point.
And for making these visuals really look good, professional. There's that whole world of themes. You mentioned the Beamboy for black and white, ThemeLight. There are others too from packages like GG Themes, all part of the grammar, letting you tweak every little detail.
Absolutely. And remember, while scatter plots are great for two numeric variables, this grammar applies everywhere. Bar charts for frequencies, GeoMBar, area plots for distributions, line plots for time series, GeoMLine. Your choice of geom depends on your variables and the story you want to tell.
And you can even adjust how things are laid out, like filling the plot area to show relative values or making bars dodge each other instead of stacking.
Exactly. Positioning matters too. And then there are pie charts.
Ah, yes. I sensed a hesitation there.
Well, our source material gives a pretty clear UG when it comes to pie charts, which subtly suggests.
I mean, not the best choice.
Often, yeah. They can be really hard to interpret accurately. Especially for comparing proportions, bar charts are usually much clearer. But hey, for exploring all the possibilities, the R-Graph Gallery is a fantastic resource. Loads of inspiration there.
Okay, so we've summarized numbers, we've visualized relationships, but what if the where is critical? What if your data has a location tied to it? That's where spatial patterns come in, right? Things get geographically interesting.
Definitely. A key insight here is that maps are just crucial for ED when you have geographic data. Absolutely essential. They let you instantly visualize spatial patterns, regional differences, location-based trends, stuff that's impossible to see in a table. Imagine taking our Gapminder data, country-level stats, and actually combining it with world map data.
So you could literally plot, say, life expectancy across the globe for a specific year.
Exactly. Using packages like Lateral Earth, we got the polygon data for world maps.
Yeah.
Then picture plotting life expectancy for, say, 2007, the last year, in the Gapminder set. You'd immediately see regional patterns.
Like maybe higher life expectancy is clustered in Western Europe, lower in parts of Africa.
Precisely. But to do that well, you need to join your Gapminder data with the map data. And that often needs a bit of data cleaning.
The practical details.
Yeah, you need to make sure United States in one data set matches United States of America in a map data, for example, so the merge works correctly.
Right. That highlights how real-world data often needs a bit of massaging to connect properly.
Indeed. And if you need more detail, say, within the U.S., packages like UsMap work really well with ggplot too. You can map states, even counties. Allows for incredibly specific regional analysis.
And what's a good real-world example of using that county-level detail?
Well, the source material talks about mapping agricultural subsidies, specifically the total amount received by each U.S. county between 2010 and 2019, maybe focusing just on 2019 data. This data comes from the Environmental Working Group, and you can plot it county by county. Each county has a unique ID, a FIPS-S code.
Like 06083 for Santa Barbara, California, the example given.
Right. Plotting that could reveal surprising regional economic patterns. You might see concentrations of subsidies linked to certain crops or farming practices.
That's a fantastic way to see how data actually looks on the ground. But what if you want to see how these patterns change over time? Static maps are great, but dynamic ones, they can reveal so much more.
And this highlights a crucial point. That's where animations really come into their own. The GANMET package lets you create these dynamic visualizations. They can illustrate changes over time or transitions between different states in your data.
So instead of just seeing a snapshot.
Exactly. Imagine watching a country's life expectancy not just jump from 1952 to 2007, but actually tracing its path over the decades on that GDP versus life expectancy scatter plot. You'd see the periods of rapid improvement, maybe stagnation, and how those moments align with its continent's overall trend, maybe.
So it's about seeing the journey, not just the start and end points.
Precisely. These animations can reveal trends and shifts, maybe the impact of a big policy change or a global event that static plots, no matter how well you design them, would just completely miss.
Yeah.
You might see whole continents shift position relative to others over time or pinpoint specific years where a country's development path really changed course. It adds a whole new dimension to understanding the data. What's really fascinating here, I think, is that exploratory data analysis, especially when you approach it with these powerful frameworks like the grammar of graphics. It's just so much more than just a tool for making charts.
Yeah.
It's really a complete syntax. It allows you to think critically about the information you want to get across and then build practically any kind of plot you need for that specific purpose. It's all about making the data understandable, digestible, and ultimately actionable.
Yeah.
It truly is that essential first step in any solid data analysis. It guides your curiosity, sharpens your insights.
So, for you, our listener, the key takeaway here is pretty clear. You now have a deeper understanding of how to approach any data set, whether you're summarizing it with numbers or visualizing its sometimes complex story. And the ability to create clear, informative, and frankly aesthetically pleasing plots is just crucial, not just for your own analysis, but especially for communicating your findings effectively, making your points really land with other people. So maybe next time you see OGraph in a report, a presentation, online somewhere, don't just accept it passively. Ask yourself, does this visualization really reflect the underlying grammar of the data? Is it designed to genuinely help me understand? Or is it maybe just trying to impress or perhaps even subtly mislead? Think about how you might use these principles we discussed, understanding your data types, picking the right germs, mapping the relevant aesthetics to tell your own data stories more clearly, more compellingly. And perhaps, even animate them to show how things change over time. That could be really powerful.